Welcome to the Evo India podcast. Now, on this week's podcast, we're going to be talking about everything that happened in the week. In the studio, I have with me Aatish Mishra, assistant editor at Evo India, and I'm Sirish Chandran, editor at Evo India. And Aatish, I think you went to the most important thing that happened this week, a very luxurious, chill event at Alibag.
Yes, I went to the Range Rover house, and this was two things. One, it was a press conference where they announced that the Range Rover and the Range Rover Sport are now going to be assembled in India.
So that's a very big thing because up until now, the Range Rover and the Sport have only been made in the UK, in the home of the two brands, right?
Absolutely. So this is the first time in the entire history of the Range Rover that full-size SUV will be made outside Great Britain, and it's in India. I mean, there's obviously a link here, Tata Motors, India.
An emotional link.
Yes.
Right?
And so this is a big deal. Because it's a CKD, prices have obviously been revised. The Sport now starts at rupees 1.4 crores.
Okay, so for reference, how much cheaper is that?
I think it was about 1.7 crores before.
Okay.
So 30,000 bucks less.
Lakhs. 25, 30 lakhs?
30 lakhs less.
Yeah.
And the full-size Range Rover starts at rupees 2.36 crores. And the long wheelbase autobiography petrol is now 2.6 or 7 crores, something around that mark. But
okay, so I remember when we tested the Range Rover, I checked and there were some 19 different variants of the Range Rover that you can pick and choose from. And then on top of that, you could add like 1,000 options and everything. Obviously, you won't get that kind of complexity, that kind of options.
So in terms of drivetrains, you're getting one petrol and one diesel for the Sport, one petrol and one diesel for the big Range.
Good enough.
Yes.
Obviously, the SV, that V8, the BMW V8 is not assembled here.
No, but they have announced that India is going to get a special edition SV exclusively for India.
Made in India? Assembled
I
in
don't
India?
think the SV will be assembled in India, but this
I think it's fair enough because those volumes are very small.
Yes.
So that's okay.
But they're making a special just for us, you know, which is pretty cool. And they will probably do another Range Rover house to launch that car.
Okay, so Range Rover Sport, made in India. It is cheaper now.
Yes.
In fact, the day that this was out and you put all that out on the Evo India social handles, a friend of ours, he called asking, so he's in the market for a luxury SUV.
Okay.
Up until now, he's never looked at a Range Rover because obviously Range Rover pricing being what it is. So his two options were the GLS and the X5/X7. And that evening he called me and said, now with the Range Rover Sport prices being revised, should I be looking at the Range Rover Sport?
No, it's definitely going to get a lot of attention because these cars, they were very competent cars, but the pricing was...
competent, I think, is underselling those cars because the Range Rovers, the Sport and the full-size Range Rover, are magnificent automobiles.
Absolutely.
You know, they're not without their flaws. Let's be honest about it. Not the biggest worry, obviously, is the network and the service and all of that, which is well documented. But when it runs beautifully.
Absolutely.
The full-size Range Rover, man, that's an epic driving experience. That king of the world driving feel that you get. You're sitting high up. You got great visibility. The torque that you get out of that engine. It's just brilliant. The ride comfort, the way it wafts over roads, and it takes Indian roads in its stride like really nothing else. So to me, that full-size Range Rover is an absolute symbol of money.
It's peak luxury.
It's peak luxury. It's peak money. It tells the world that, boss, you've arrived.
Absolutely.
Sometime back, we did a comparison between the Range Rover and the S-Class. And
the i7.
So first we did Range Rover and S-Class. Then we did Range Rover and i7. So when we did Range Rover and S-Class, the S-Class is still a superior product in terms of engineering. Superior in terms of ride comfort also, in terms of the features and everything. But the experience of the Range Rover,
it's
that
something
emotional
else.
Connect, the way it pulls at your heartstrings
Absolutely.
is absolutely something else.
It's the original luxury SUV, come to think about it.
True. Obviously, it births it, that whole segment. And then, like you pointed out, we did a comparison with the i7. And again, the i7 was better engineered. You know, the i7/7 series. But the Range Rover, the emotional appeal of it, when you see somebody coming out of a Range Rover, when you see a Range Rover in your rear view mirror, it looks like $1 million.
It's absolutely unbelievable.
On the contrary, though, the Range Rover Sport, this new one, I'm not particularly impressed by it.
Why do you say that?
I think it's too stiff.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was the spec of the SUV that we drove.
Yes.
But I think it's a bit too stiff. Of course, it's got Sport in the name, so it has to be sporty and all of that. So that's
But the
there.
ESP is also very aggressive, so you can't really drive it too hard.
True. So we did some hard cornering shots, and you couldn't really drive it in a sporty fashion like you can with the X5, with the Cayenne. So that left me a little wanting.
Yeah.
But
then
Range Rover,
these cars will whoop those cars when it comes to off-roading. Nobody's going to take a Range Rover off-road, but they have proper low range. They have those terrain modes and all of that, terrain response. And they'll go to the ends of the earth.
Definitely. Except a Range Rover with 21, 22 inch
Exactly.
wheels.
You don't want to take
And you'll be mad to take it off-road. You cut one tire and
it.
what's the bill? $50,000 for one tire. So, but in terms of off-road competency, it's great. Anyway, we're not here to talk about the cars themselves. So, prices are down. Makes a really good buy, and I'm sure you can go to any dealership now and they will have these assembled in India cars. Plus another benefit is in a lot of states where the CBU registration taxes are much higher than locally assembled, you will save money over there also. So you won't just save 25-30 lakhs, you'll probably save around 40 lakhs. All said and done coming to the on-road price. So you will you'll be happy when you see the price list, especially when you compare it with the earlier price list.
And another thing that I want to talk about is the show strength that happened at that event. You know, Rajan, the boss of
Rajanamba, the new Range Rover, Land Rover, Range Rover, JLR India boss.
Yes. He was there, but then so were the Range Rover guys from the UK, you know, the heads of the Range Rover brand. Now it's 4 distinct brands. So the heads of the Range Rover brand from the UK were there. And so was N. Chandrasekhar.
The Tata Sons boss.
Yeah. So he was there and he actually gave a really emotive speech about Ratan Tata's vision and how he had the vision to get Range Rover into the family and then it's grown to where it is today. You know, so it was a proper show of strength at that event and it was really impressive to see that.
But see, this begs the question that now Range Rover, Land Rover, Jaguar, they've been part of the Tata family for, 12, 15 years?
Yeah.
Why has it taken them so long to start assembling Range Rovers in India?
It's a very good question. It's not an overnight process. It's not like, okay, today you decide and tomorrow you dismantle kits and send them to India. I was talking to Rajan and he was telling me it was 2 years in the making almost, you know, getting this project started off the ground and actually making it happen because people have to be trained, lines have to be set up, all sorts of stuff has to happen. Homologation has to happen, you know. So it takes a lot of time.
So before this, the Defender Sport, the Evoque, I think the Velar also has been assembled in India. Now, this Range Rover, this current Range Rover, was designed under Tata stewardship.
Yes.
Unlike the earlier Range Rover that was designed under Ford and Tata got the benefit all of that. So when this was being developed itself, they should have thought of CKD operations, right?
They may have.
But I think at that time, India wasn't really on anybody's map in terms of luxury volumes. But now, India is on the map. Recently,
it's a post-COVID thing.
It's a post-COVID thing. And more importantly, recently when Lamborghini put out their global numbers, India had a special mention. 103 Lamborghinis sold in India. And that has opened the eyes of the world to the potential in India. You look at JLR's numbers in India. Last year's numbers have been really impressive.
They've almost doubled.
Albeit on a smaller base. But what they are selling aren't the cheaper Discovery Sports and Evoques. They are selling the full-size Range Rovers and the Defenders. That demand is through the roof. You have to wait 8 months if you want a Range Rover. Even if you've got 3 crores burning a hole in your pocket, you still have to wait 8 months to
Hopefully that'll come down now.
Yeah, but that just shows the sheer demand for luxury vehicles in India.
Absolutely.
And I think JLR India is on a really good wicket right now. For many years, everybody's question was that, it's part of the Tata portfolio. India is Tata's home country. What is JLR doing in India? They were just a small blip on that luxury car space. But now that blip is going to be it's going to be a spotlight. And if all those rumored talks about setting up a manufacturing facility in Tamil Nadu, if that comes to fruition, then you can just imagine the value that JLR products will have in India.
Absolutely.
Because our import duties are massive, and that is obviously to encourage local manufacturing and obviously to prevent flooding. So that will really change things. Another thing that's being talked about, but I think now will be on the back burner with the elections in the UK, is the India-UK FTA.
Yeah.
Again, if that comes to bear, that will have a clear impact on prices of cars that are imported from the UK.
For sure.
So,
and Range Rover has big plans. They've announced something along the lines of that they're going to double volumes from today in the next 3 years. So they have solid plans. They want to be a proper, legitimate player in this luxury car space that can take on the likes of Audi, BMW head on.
And Mercedes.
Mercedes is another league. They're at 16,000 cars a year.
I think they can. I think they can do it because there is... see, we Indians think emotionally. We think more with the heart than the head.
Yeah.
We are very value conscious and all that. But if you tick those boxes, then what? Then it is the emotion that comes into play.
And I think maybe you're saying the Tata story can sell.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Look at Tata sales today. Tata is in such a good space today. And that will rub off onto Range Rover. The products though look like $1 million.
Absolutely.
I don't think anybody can criticize the way it looks. So you have beautiful products. If you have it attractively priced, and if JLR India can sort out their service, if they clean that up, this brand can really take off. And I really do wish them all the best. Also, tell me about that Range Rover house.
I've never been to a press conference where after the announcement I've had a massage. It's unbelievable what they've done there. The Range Rover house is not for media, but media are invited there to experience the brand and sort of the luxury that envelopes the brand. So the experiences there are not necessarily car related. They've got a number of different experiences across this one villa that they had leased out in Alibag, and they're all high-end luxury experiences. So you've got a sound therapy session where I just meditated to the sound of those, those bowls that
those prayer bowls
resonate at a certain frequency. So there was a 20-minute meditation sound therapy session. Then I got some foot reflexology done. Then there were design studios in there. There was whiskey tasting. There were gelato. There was cigars. So all of the sort of the good things in life. What we call the good things in life. They had little pockets and experiences of them around the place to give you a sense of what a luxurious life with a Range Rover should be like.
So suppose I'm in the market for a Range Rover now, like our friend who's in the market for a Range Rover Sport. We are in Pune. Alibag is 3 hours from here. Can you hop over to the house of Range Rover and spend a weekend?
It's an invite only, but it's invites for customers as well as prospects. So if you are a serious prospect, you are in touch with the dealer, you are sort of on the fence about a Range Rover, they may call you in to sort of close that deal. So it was a 3-day thing in Alibag, and then it's done. But these are like pop-ups. They pop up all over the world. I had attended one in France as well when I went to drive the Evoque and Velar over there. So they pop up all over the world. And they're just meant for Range Rover customers all over the world. And we should see more of these in India over the next few years.
Awesome. So if you are a Range Rover prospect, reach out to your dealer. Tell them that, okay, you want to seal the deal? Call me for the next house of Range Rover.
And it's an unbelievable, it's really a must visit. And, Range Rover, I think, is thinking laterally that way. They're not thinking automotive. They're not just trying to sell their cars. They're selling a lifestyle. Even when we went for the drives in France, driving the car was only one part of it. But we were put up in a vineyard in France. We got to taste wines in cellars in Champagne, and they're selling that lifestyle.
Yeah, Aatish, tough life, I must say.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to live it.
Somebody has to do this job.
Yeah, tough life, man. I hope you get a good raise this year. So anyway, moving on from Range Rover, but sticking with the whole luxury side of things. I mentioned Lamborghini sales numbers. Now, obviously, that has put the attention on India for the rest of the world. Well. And that means now Bentley's eyes are on India. And we've learned from insiders that right now, Bentley India operates out of Exclusive Motors, the importer in India. They have 3 outlets in India: Delhi, Bombay, and Hyderabad. Now, Bentley India is going to transition to the Volkswagen Group, the Skoda Volkswagen Group in India. So it'll come under the National Sales Office, which is based out of Mumbai. So it's going to transition to the Skoda Volkswagen Group office, the National Sales Office based out of Mumbai. That operates Skoda, Volkswagen, Lamborghini, Porsche, Audi. 5 brands. Bentley will be the 6th brand. Obviously, these things don't happen overnight, so the transition will most likely happen by next year.
Okay.
By which time they're going to find another dealer in the south. Right now they have Hyderabad, so the next location is it doesn't take a genius to figure that out. So they'll have another dealer also, and they are looking at growing the numbers.
So what does this do? Right now they're imported. Now they'll come under the group. How does this change things for a customer in India?
Okay, so one good thing is that they have access to the Skoda Volkswagen parts network and the parts warehouse. So they will be able to store more parts. Okay, I'm not saying that you'll have all the parts for all the Bentleys, because obviously every Bentley is personalized.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. But you'll have quicker access to parts. You will have in-house resource who will be taking care of service. So you'll have a further attention on service. Homologation will now be a group affair. So that will happen quicker. And also, if you look at Bentley's products, now, if Lamborghini is selling 103 vehicles in India, obviously I think 60 or 70% are Uruses, but those are sporty SUVs.
Yeah.
Those are still a little firmer. Whereas Bentley sells luxurious cars, which are better suited to our Indian roads.
That Bentayga is something else, yeah. It's on another level.
Yeah, again, that's something that you spent a whole day in.
Yeah.
Tough life. So I went to the UK where we didn't get to drive any of these, but I saw how they were made. And okay, I didn't see how the mechanical side of stuff is done, but what they showed us was the personalization,
Right.
how the leather is done on the seats, how Bentley, I think is one of the few manufacturers that do their own seats in-house. Everybody else outsources seats, who wastes time in making seats. But Bentley do their own seats because of
Interesting.
that stitching, the hand stitching, the leather finishes, the veneers, the wood veneers.
Yeah.
You also get now something called a stone veneer,
Yeah, I saw that story you put up.
which actually is done out of India
Yeah.
in the stone mines,
Yeah.
and you have a 0.3 mm thick stone veneer,
And
which
it's
is then
flexible,
goes-
no?
Yeah, so
It's a-
what they do is they put a sort of liquid on stone,
Hmm.
put a paper on it, and then they peel that paper off, and then that gets that imprint of the stone.
Okay.
So you get this little thin veneer, which then goes onto your dash, which looks really nice. And the wood is little old school,
Yeah.
but this stone veneer looks really nice, very classy.
Interesting.
So that's something new.
So you
that
get
I
a
learned.
discount if you spec it in India because it comes straight from there.
In the luxury space, discount and discount is not luxury. You
Yeah.
know, when you go and haggle for 1 lakh, 2 lakh, when you're buying a luxury car, that's what the guys at Mercedes keep telling me, that discounting is not luxury.
Yeah.
That is not a luxury experience. And today, if somebody is buying say a 50 lakh rupee SUV, today you don't even get anything for 50 lakhs. So say 60 lakhs. 3 lakhs here and there, does it actually make that much of a difference when you think of it?
It really doesn't. Yeah.
Whereas if they get more value out of those 3 lakhs, say you spend that kind of money and then you get invited to an AMG motion tour or an Audi driving experience to the Bharat Mala Road, which we did. That is value.
And not just that, your resale value also probably holds a little better because
Yes.
you're not getting discounted
yeah,
cars.
because everybody who buys the car off you will say, you got a discount, so now give me a discount.
Exactly.
So that discount, that snowball effect is always there. So
Yeah.
luxury is not discounting. Luxury is about the experience.
Yeah.
And I think increasingly the manufacturers here in India, even though they do indulge in discounting, but increasingly they're noticing that, discounting is, there's no end to it. It'll just keep happening. Today, one brand is on top. Tomorrow, the second brand gives an additional discount. That brand will be on top.
Yeah.
So it doesn't end. Whereas experiences matter. Experiences spreads that word of mouth, and that will grow the brand.
Absolutely. But we're digressing. Bentley.
Yeah. Now, Bentley also have an India edition car.
Okay.
So that news came out 2 months ago or something.
Okay.
But nobody really picked up on it because when you look at the car, okay, it was shot at Bharat Mandapam, so it had some India iconography, but it was green in color. Green, I don't know what the significance is to India. On the dash, it had some mountains and some horses, which again, I don't know what the significance is to India. But these were 5 cars, India edition. It was called the Opulence edition. Obviously, they probably are already sold out because it was commissioned by the distributor.
Okay.
And the distributor is not going to commission cars and let it sit idle in their parking lot. So these were, I think, 3 Bentegas, 1 Flying Spur, 1 Continental GT. So these were the India edition Bentleys. But net, you'll see more action from Bentley because they will also now have a demo car fleet in India.
Yeah.
The Bentayga that you drove
Yes.
was a Carne import from
Correct.
the UK.
It
which
was on
here
UK
for
plates.
it was on UK plates. It'll be here for a month, 2 months, go back.
Correct.
Restricted number of kilometers you can do on it, all of that. Whereas now they'll have cars in India, which means we guys will be able to get a hands on it, do more stories.
Tough life.
Yeah, tough life. Yeah, I'm sure you'll be looking forward to that. So that will just grow the brand in India.
Yeah.
And when you have a manufacturer behind the brand, you obviously put in that extra effort. So
Absolutely.
that will make a difference to
So-
Bentley's operations.
So
in
that's
India.
good news for us then. And
Good news for those in that super premium luxury
sure.
category.
yeah. And let's talk about the other brand in the group that made a big announcement yesterday.
Which
the
was?
Porsche 911.
Mm.
So Porsche has announced its new midlife update to the 992 generation, and it's gone a hybrid.
Yeah.
So the GTS is now the only hybrid in the range for now, but I think the turbos and all will also become hybrids.
Yeah.
It's a fairly complicated hybrid system.
Okay.
But
So to
yeah.
break it down,
Yeah,
okay, the hybrid is not a plug-in hybrid.
it's not a plug-in hybrid.
There is no EV only range.
Correct. It's one of
Okay.
those self-charging, like your Grand
Toyotas.
Vitaras.
Yeah. Self-charging electric vehicle.
Correct.
Okay, we won't go into marketing speak over here. The electric motor
Yes.
that's positioned in the PDK gearbox.
That's one electric
It's
motor.
one electric motor. It's
There's a-
between the engine and the PDK gearbox
Yes.
within the PDK housing.
Yes.
And you got to remember that this gearbox was designed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
So a couple of years ago, the car
But when-
was ready for electrification.
And they announced that.
Yes,
When
they
they
did.
when they unveiled the 992, they said this
Yeah.
gearbox, we're now shifting to a new gearbox and it's hybrid ready.
Yeah. So it's got the motor there.
Yeah.
The benefit of that is that you get that instant acceleration like in electric cars.
Correct.
So it's not a motor mounted on the rear axle or the front axle.
Yes.
Because of where it is positioned, you get that instant response,
Mhm.
which is why in a drag race, they had Matt Watson of Carwow in a drag race with Mark Webber.
Yeah.
And the new GTS smokes the old
one.
GTS.
Absolutely.
It's some 8 seconds faster around the Nürburgring
Yeah.
than the old GTS. Initial launch, it is actually quicker than a Turbo S.
But there's one more thing that's making that difference. That's the second electric motor
Yes.
inside the turbo.
Yeah.
So this is similar to F1 tech. They've got a small, tiny electric motor between the two turbine wheels between the exhaust and the turbine, and this can spin up at low revs and essentially feed gases into the intake much harder than it usually would at low revs.
So basically, a turbo runs off the exhaust gases,
Yes.
and it needs the exhaust gas pressure to build up. For it to build up boost pressure, that's turbo lag for you.
Yes.
Whereas here, this electric motor, it spins up the turbo without needing the exhaust gases to spin it up.
Correct.
And that kills turbo lag.
So Mercedes also does this
Yes.
in their cars. But how this is different from Mercedes, I think, is that this can feed charge back to the battery, like in an
don't-
F1 car.
I don't think so.
It does,
It's
it does.
Okay, it
It does, yeah. So like an F1 car, like the MGU-H in an F1 car, this feeds charge back into the battery. And this turbo actually doesn't have a wastegate,
Yes.
which is something that F1 cars also don't have
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
So this is really advanced hybrid technology, and the Porsche engineers apparently quite kicked about this. And
Yeah, and obviously, if they're going to invest so much in this, it obviously meets all current and future emission norms. So
Correct.
this is saving the ICE,
yeah,
but I don't think it saved the manual.
Yes.
Because all this masala is in the PDK gearbox,
Correct.
the twin clutch automatic gearbox.
thankfully
which
the
means
Carrera is still there with.
as of now,
Yes,
but the future emission norms is not going to meet, right?
probably.
So your manual gearbox is probably going to die very
some point.
soon so emission norms are going to kill your manual gearbox.
Yeah, they'll still launch one special edition at 10,000 crores with a manual gearbox special edition. So don't worry, that'll live. But
Yeah,
you have to
so-
be that moneyed to
And we should also talk about prices.
prices. The base Carrera is 2 crore rupees.
Yeah, smidge under 2 crores.
1.998 something.
So 2 crore rupees.
And this hybrid GTS is 2.75 crores. It's actually a couple of $1,000 more than the GTS, which is on
The
sale.
GT3.
GT3. Yeah,
Yes.
the GT3, which is on sale in India today, which is ridiculous.
Yeah. So Porsche prices have become insane.
But you know what I'm a little miffed about?
Mm,
The GT3 prices in the UK and the GTS prices in the UK, there is a £15,000 delta. We've not got that delta in India. So I don't know where that's come from. Is it because of hybridization that this costs extra? Or because they're just trying to milk us?
Okay. Inside information
Yeah.
from people that I know in the community. There's some 30 orders already for the GTS.
Okay.
So this ridiculous pricing is not making a dent in Porsche's order books.
So they just, yeah.
You know,
Fair
so and a Porsche today, globally, but in India more so, is almost like a Rolex.
Yes.
Whatever price you buy it at,
They don't appreciate.
it will appreciate.
Yeah.
You know, it will not depreciate.
Yeah.
So you buy anything today, and you can look at it as, instead of putting your money in an FD in the bank, you're putting it in something that you can enjoy.
Yeah.
It lights the fires inside you.
Yes.
And eventually, when you want to upgrade, for instance,
Yes.
or you want to sell it off, you will not lose money. You'll
Correct.
probably make up whatever you spent on fuel also.
So it's a free Porsche for how many ever years you have it.
Yeah, you can look at it like that. So, sage investment advice on the Evo India show.
Including how to get a free Porsche. But you know, there's something I'm a little miffed about on this new 992.
Why are you so miffed?
Slightly.
You just came back from House of Range Rover.
They've gotten rid of that analog tacho.
Mm.
I think that was such a nice touch. You know, it was right in the center of your vision. It looked perfect. And even though you had the digital screens around it, that was sort of like it was a nod to the past, you know, and it kept that mechanical feel to the car. That's gone. Now it's screen. Similar to what the Macan or the Taycan or whatever have, you know, so it's lost
Or the
some-
Q3, or the Taygun.
Correct. So, and the other thing is that push button start. You know, the Porsche always had that tactile start. You know, you twist that knob in the dash, or you put the key in and you twist it. That's gone, you know.
Yeah.
And okay, it's not a big deal, and it's not going to change anybody's life, and nobody's not going to buy a Porsche because of that. But I feel just a little bit of the magic may be lost, you know.
But anyway, I'm looking forward to driving that hybrid to see what difference it actually makes to the whole driving experience.
I'm sure it'll be phenomenal, yeah.
Yeah, to look at it looks the same.
Yeah.
So unless you really got an eagle eye, you're never going to make out a 992.2 from a 992.1.
Correct.
And most people can't even make out a 991 from a 992. So that's a different thing. But I think sticking with that classic silhouette has helped, because that's what has held values of the older cars also.
Yes.
So I think Porsche knows what they're doing.
Yeah. And when
Prices
they get into
are a little because if is a big question mark. If you can order a GT3 today, it's cheaper than a GTS.
Yeah.
And I would pick the GT3.
Yeah.
But and I doubt you can order a GT3 today.
You'll have to have bought like 2 Macans, 1 Cayenne.
Yeah,
one
so the GT3 is just there as a pricing placeholder for now,
Yeah.
because eventually all these will migrate to hybrids.
Yes.
Porsche is not going to invest so much in developing the hybrid system
Correct.
and not let it go filter down into the rest of the range, or filter up into the rest of the range.
And I'm not worried, you know, everyone says, oh, hybrid losing its soul and all, but when Porsche gets into a technology, they do it well and they retain its soul.
You know, we are going to do another podcast on hybrids, and I personally believe hybrids are a great in-between
Absolutely.
step towards full electrification. We've driven the Mercedes AMG S63 SE Performance 4MATIC. Now that
How many
has
torques?
1,430 Newton meters.
And that's hybrid for you.
That's unreal. 1,430 Newton meters. That, I don't know, it makes burji of your brain. When we launched it, it's got that engine noise, it's got synthesized noises. It's unfreaking believable.
And
Now, it's got a downsized engine.
Yeah.
You know, it's downsized to the 4-liter M177 AMG engine.
Yeah.
But because of that electric motors and all of that, and it is a plug-in hybrid, so you get 33 kilometers of pure EV
You can
range
drive it in
also.
absolute silence in the city.
Yeah. You get mad performance, mad
mental.
acceleration. In fact, it's just so much of drama that I didn't even notice that the rear was squatting heavily and the nose was pointing to the moon. It's only later on when we saw the footage that I saw, shit, look at the rear squatting.
It's like that, you know, it's like it's taking off almost.
Yeah, it's an epic driving experience. Now, 3 edition ones will be made available in India, out of which one we've already full sent it.
Yeah.
We've not it's perfect. So don't get me wrong. We've just gone and done acceleration runs and everything, burned a lot of fuel in it.
Yeah.
So, but one is the media card is going to be doing the round. So 2 more up for sale. I'm sure it's already been spoken for.
100%.
Or you can say 50 lakhs. So 3.3 crores. You get the non-edition one, AMG.
But then you can add options to that and bring it back up to spec.
So you can option that AMG driver's pack, which unlocks the 290 kilometers per hour top speed for 2.8 lakh rupees. So
ridiculous.
I think it's money well spent. But again, hybrids, they're brilliant. The Invicto, I think Invicto / Innova Highcross, it's phenomenal with that hybrid powertrain.
Yeah.
You get fuel efficiency, you get silence, you get refinement. It's great. So podcast on hybrids coming up. If you have any questions on hybrids, do let us know in the comments and we will take that up in our next podcast. But hybrids, I am a big fan of. Look at this, the Camry hybrid.
Yeah.
What a lovely car. And now you can't crib about the pricing because you know what the Superb is priced at. So now there's no, it's all matter of perspective, right?
Absolutely.
What's next, Aatish?
Altroz Racer.
That's something I'm excited by.
Yes. So this is essentially Tata Motors' take on the warm hatch segment, hot hatches, but India style, sitting around 100, 110 horsepower. They've been around for a while. We had the Punto Abarth, we had the Polo GTs.
But we get like, it's like Prasad.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get it very rarely.
Few and far
and
between.
just few and far. Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not like, you get cut, you get hot hatches after the other.
Correct.
The last one that we had was the i20 N line.
Correct.
Which is still there, but that was the last big launch in this space.
Yes.
Right? If I'm not mistaken.
Citroen C3 you may count it as it's got a turbo-petrol engine, but...
It's got a turbo-petrol engine, but it's not hot and no disrespect to it, but it's not lighting the fires of any enthusiast.
Absolutely.
Today.
Yeah.
So the i20 N line, what else?
Fronx.
The Fronx turbo.
Fronx turbo.
Yeah. Again, Maruti is not even positioning it as a hot hatch
SUV.
or they're positioning it as SUV, crosshatch, whatever. Yeah. But they're not making any real differentiation of it being more sporty than the regular 1.5. But you have that.
Yes.
So this is a segment that really is desperate for new entrants.
Yeah.
And I think Tata Motors jumping into it is great for us enthusiasts.
Absolutely. It's going to really throw the doors open. Enthusiasts are probably going to jump onto that bandwagon. Hopefully it drives well, but...
I'm sure it'll drive well. Let's look at the Altroz.
Yes.
The Altroz is something that I remember driving it pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And I was really impressed by the platform.
Yes.
By the ride, by the handling.
It debuted that new Alpha architecture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it had no dum. The diesel was better than the petrol.
Yes.
Then they had the i-turbo, which was like, what was the turbo doing?
Yeah.
But I think now with this 1.2 turbo petrol engine from the Nexon, I think 118 bhp or something. So that little juice.
Yes.
You'll give it a spring in its step. You'll be able to push the limits of that chassis. And I'm really excited.
Absolutely. And it's not just an engine job. They've actually taken some time and effort to make it look fun as well. So you've got that blacked out roof and bonnet, almost like it has a carbon bonnet.
Yes.
You've got the racing stripes on it.
Yes.
You've got interiors which are now blacked out with accents in them. So
bigger wheels?
I think you do get it's 16-inch wheels now.
Okay, so bigger
At least
wheels.
The car on display at the Bharat Mobility show had fuel wheels on them.
Yeah, very nice.
The production car will have fuel branded wheels or fuel is going to supply bigger wheels or what, but it's going to have 16-inch wheels, I think.
I hope it does have fuel branded wheels. When you have OZ racing wheels on souped up cars, it's like a cool thing.
It's definitely a cool thing.
Yeah.
So if they keep branded wheels on them, great. Interiors, they've got that color scheme which looks a little more sporty and they've thrown kit at it. You've got
digital cluster, bigger screen,
sunroof.
Sunroof. In India, we want sunroof.
I think it gets a 360 camera, ventilated seats. So it gets everything.
Fully loaded.
Yeah, fully loaded. So it'll be a nice, comfortable, fully loaded hatchback that should be fun to drive.
And save the manual.
Save the manual. It's going to get a manual.
Yeah. Well, it's not going to get an automatic. But let's look at the positive side. Save the manual.
Save the manual. But it's going to be a good contender to the i20 N-Line. The N-Line is actually a very nice car to drive.
Yes.
And I think they also, they were very well judged in the changes they made to the i20. They tweaked the suspension a little bit, tweaked the steering a little bit.
The exhaust.
Yeah, the exhaust is a little naughty. And it looks pretty nice, the red accent. It harks to their rally cars and all of that. So the N-Line, I think, is a very nicely done, well-judged sporty car that sort of picked up from where the Polo left off. And it's going have competition now,
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to the Altroz. We're going to be driving it very soon.
Yeah, I think another 2 weeks we're going to be driving
Yes.
it. And this is the car that's been developed at the racetrack.
Yes.
So we've got some clips of it also, sneaky little clips of it being tested and all that being thrown around sideways. So I think it's going to be lowered a bit.
So
it'll handle better. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's got a little more rubber on it, so more grip.
are they doing stuff to the suspension and everything?
I hope so. I really hope so. We don't have wood here, but I hope they really do
Yeah.
something on the handling bit. And they have precedent. Let's not forget, JTP
Correct.
also was stillborn. It was very short-lived, not
Yes.
stillborn, but very short-lived. But that was great to drive. Like really nice for its
Yeah.
time. Very nice to drive. And everybody still remembers JTP. And I think that has prompted Tata Motors to now redo that whole past story,
Yeah.
now under the Racer name. So under their own name, in partnership with anybody else, under the Racer
I like
name.
the JTP name more than Racer.
Well, we got used to Laura. So we get used to any name. That
That's
doesn't
true.
really matter.
Yeah.
But this is going to be fun. And this could be the start of go faster variants of all their other cars. Imagine a go faster Punch,
Yeah.
a go faster Nexon, a
Yeah.
go faster Harrier.
And there's lots of potential in the EV space also because dialing up an electric motor is not that hard.
Yeah, a
you
go
know?
faster Nexon EV,
Yeah.
Nexon EV Racer.
Yeah.
I just think that Racer is a bit racer boyish
Yeah.
to boy racerish.
Yeah.
And that probably doesn't send out like the messaging needs to be on point, especially in this day of
Yeah.
you Gen Z millennials, because you guys are very touchy and very sensitive.
More than that, what's been happening in Pune?
Yeah, we don't want to talk about that,
Yeah.
but yes, so you don't want to go there.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and I've been right from the beginning. It's not something new that I've been saying. When it was shown at the Auto Expo, that time itself, I said Racer name, no. You should think of maybe Tata Sport. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Use the
Simple.
Tata name. Everybody loves the Tata name. Just Tata Sport.
Keep it
You know,
simple.
just keep it simple.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think now it's too far down the line to change that. Yeah. Apart from that, I am fully on board for it.
Absolutely.
And sticking with Racer, sticking with motorsport. Well, Tata Motors should do some motorsport to give credibility to the Racer brand. But again,
imagine a one-make racer championship.
again, that's another story
Yeah.
for later. But they should do that. So we're not hiding away from that desire. But on motorsport.
Yes. Sad news. MotoGP has been postponed to 2025 in India.
Yeah. So a month back, we put out news saying that MotoGP not happening in India this year. A lot of people screamed and shouted and saying, no, you're jumping the gun and everything. Well, we've proven right. It is not happening this year.
Yeah.
But I have to say that insiders at Fair Street, who are the promoters for the MotoGP, they tell us in no uncertain terms that money was never the issue. Okay, so unlike what the Spanish press has been saying, that Dorna, who are the rights holder for MotoGP, who've now sold out to Liberty, so it comes under that whole group that runs even Formula One. So money was never the issue. Yes, there were still some payments to be made, but that was supposed to be done in December. And the delay, they say very categorically, it was not from Fair Street's side and it was not from the UP government side. The only other side that is left is Dorna. They haven't said it is Dorna, but it's easy to infer from that. Something is off somewhere, but they're saying that the kind of economy that India has today, we are the 5th largest economy in the world. And actually, the sums needed to run MotoGP also in India aren't that big. So saying that money was never the issue, getting that money is not a problem. Of course, it got delayed because of the model code of conduct and because the UP government is like the main investor in MotoGP, the main sponsor in MotoGP and promoter. So that got delayed. But they are ready to do it. Now they said because all this got delayed, okay, they've taken this opportunity not to do it in September because of the expected monsoons plus the heat. Last year, we were there
it was
at MotoGP.
terrible.
Man, I've never seen Delhi that hot plus humid.
Yeah, it was muggy. That was a problem.
It was like Chennai, but even hotter.
And you know what happens? I was running around on the track because of I was
You're
shooting.
taking pictures, yeah.
So a lot of the grass areas, they hold water. Then that water evaporates. And it just stays in the air around you. And you're just sweating
You're walking
buckets.
through a cloud and like a wet towel everywhere.
Yeah, and it's hot. It's just muggy the whole time.
Like
So,
marshals were collapsing with the heat. Riders were collapsing with
that
the heat.
Jorge Martin, you remember that picture?
Yes.
After the race, he got on the bike and he was
He was
just
destroyed.
done.
Destroyed. He couldn't even come for the post-race press conference.
They wanted
He
to
was
go-
on the podium, but he
Yeah.
couldn't come for the post-race press conference. So,
So-
and these guys are, in terms of fitness,
They're on another
they're super
planet.
athletes.
Yeah.
They're super athletes, not just athletes, super athletes.
Yeah.
So it was worse than Thailand. It was worse than Malaysia,
Malaysia,
worse than
yeah.
Indonesia. So that's why they've taken this opportunity not to do it in September, October, where
Yeah.
that slot was there. It's now gone to Kazakhstan,
Yeah.
which is great for the promoters because Kazakhstan, dictatorship, oil money, yay, party. And it will happen in India in March.
Yes.
So they're saying technically it's been pushed back.
Yeah.
It's not
Officially
it's pushed
announced.
back.
They've not officially
The
announced the
dates
March
aren't out.
date.
Yes.
So we learned that it's happening in March.
Yes.
And
So what they're saying is that it'll probably be 1 week before or 1 week after Holi. Holi is on 14th of March. And because Ramzan is in March, that means the Qatar race can't happen at that time.
Okay.
So India will probably be the first Grand Prix of 2025.
I hope that happens, but I'm going to take that with a pinch of salt because Ramzan happened this year. It didn't stop Formula One. It happened in Saudi.
yeah.
Where did it happen? Saudi and Qatar. Bahrain. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it happened on a Saturday instead of a Sunday.
So
So-
fair point. Aatish has a point over there.
Take that with a
Yeah.
pinch of salt.
So they're also saying if India gets the first round, then we might also get testing, pre-season testing.
Yeah.
That maybe you should take it with that a heavy dose of
Salt.
salt because one thing is still there. The runoffs need to be extended at the BIC.
Yeah.
Right? As of work happening
Yeah.
now towards the end of the year, if they do that, because especially for testing, you do need that extra.
And testing,
runoff
you need a
because-
set of values. Some things need to be constant, like the track.
Yeah.
If the track changes, then all your testing
Yes.
data is
Yeah.
new. So
Yeah.
then it's
So that's there.
Yeah.
But they're saying March, it's happening. So
fingers crossed. I
fingers
hope it
crossed.
happens
Yeah.
because it was
And, we are the world's largest motorcycle market.
yeah.
We have everybody here from Ducati to TVS, who's huge in Indian motorsport, KTM, Triumph, you name it, Honda.
Yeah.
Everybody's here.
Yeah.
And the biking lot are more enthusiastic about motorsport than the car lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're more knowledgeable about it and everything. So the audience is there for MotoGP. Last year when it happened, a lot of people didn't go because it was so last minute.
Yeah. Nobody
It
was sure if
towards
it was
the
going
end
to
of it.
happen
Even
or not.
we booked our tickets at the very last minute because
Yeah.
we didn't know that it is going to happen or not.
And there were Marquez and all putting stories saying, I've not got my visa
Yes,
yet. And
yeah.
I was like, bro, if Marquez is not here, who's going to come for the race?
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
but I think now that India did the first
Yeah.
MotoGP race, all the riders loved it. They loved the track.
Yeah.
So if it happens, people will be there.
Yes.
Enthusiasts will be there.
100%.
I just hope the BIC guys put some shade
I
on
was- yeah.
their grandstands because March will not be that hot, but still in the afternoon all that is hot. Yeah, this is India.
The sun is
so,
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we don't like getting a tan. So that's on MotoGP.
Yeah.
Net, it should be positive, but let the final communication come out of the India dates.
Absolutely.
And that's it.
That's it for the podcast this week. Thank you so much for listening to us.
Let us know if you have any questions, whether you like this format, which you are mixing it up, where we do topical podcasts and then we do also like what's happened in the week podcast. Let us know if you like it, if you want some tweaks, if you've been enjoying this on YouTube, give us a shout out, drop in a comment, share this with enthusiasts. If you've been listening to us on podcast platforms, do share it, do drop us a comment. And yep, we'll be back next week, same time, same place. And yep,
See you there.
see you there.